Welcome back to Sports by GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Jeremy Lapidus. If you are just tuning in, we are continuing our tour around the four major American sports today. We've covered basketball with the action from last night, setting up a series with the 76ers and the Knicks, Jimmy Butler's injury, what that means for the Heat as they go to a win-or-go-home game against the Chicago Bulls for the right to play the Celtics in the first round of the playoffs without Jimmy Butler. In the second segment, which we just finished up, we talked about minicamps, the wide receiver market, the players that are missing, and what that what I expect that to happen as a result of that, and what the wide receiver market might look like next season. In this segment, like I said, we're doing a tour around the four major American sports. We're going to make a little pit stop in baseball and do our MLB power rankings for the week. Last week, we did it into tiers since it's early in the season. I've done away with the tier system, but we can still kind of do tiers. We'll take a look at the biggest risers, fallers, some of the teams that I'm most interested in, seeing how they continue to develop. It is still early in the season, so we'll go through my power rankings. But before we do, remember that if you would like to be an even bigger part of the show than you already are, all you need to do is go to gsmcpodcast.net. That link on the screen right there, it lets you leave a tip or donation for the show. We appreciate anything you do give. It'll be an option for you to leave a message. That message will pop up on the bottom of the screen for you, me, and everybody else watching around the world to see. You can control what we talk about on the show. You have a question, leave it in the message. We will answer it. You can control a segment. Comment, concern, anything you would like to say, all you need to do is go to the link on screen right now, gsmcpodcast.net, and leave that tip or donation. We appreciate anything that you do give, and we appreciate all of you for tuning in and listening, however you may be listening. But like I was saying, our pit stop for the third segment is the MLB. We're going to go over MLB power rankings for this week, and we're just going to go ahead and start right at the bottom. Last week, my bottom team was the Oakland Athletics, and that has definitely changed a little bit. At the bottom, I have the Chicago White Sox. They were 29th last week. The White Sox have inarguably looked like the worst team in baseball. They have the least amount of wins. There is almost nothing positive going for them, and it's the same thing with a lot of the lower tier teams, especially the bottom three here in the power rankings. So the White Sox at 30, the Rockies and the Marlins I have at 29 and 28. Like I said, not a lot of positives for those teams. Injuries for those two. The Marlins got hit hard in the arms, which is where their strength was last season, propelling them to a wild card berth. The Rockies lose Chris Bryant for what feels like the millionth time, as he goes back on the IL after crashing into a wall. Not really a lot of positives going on for those two teams. So those three are my basement dwellers. We then get into the next tier, which consists of the Nationals and Athletics, which is just on the stairs to the basement. You know, they are down there, but there's a little bit of bright spot. Nationals have lots of young talent coming up. We saw the debut of Mitchell Parker against the Dodgers. He won that game. The Dodgers lost that series to the Nationals. They just beat the Dodgers in a series 2-1. They beat the Giants in a series. They did lose to the Athletics in a series, which is why I have the Athletics one spot ahead of them at 26. Although I do think the Nats have a more or have a brighter future in at least for this season. 25, we have the Cardinals. 24, we have the Angels. They did a little flip-flop from last week. Again, the Angels are being powered by a red-hot Mike Trout. Mike Trout looks like prime Mike Trout. He hasn't looked like this in years. It is very, very impressive to watch Mike Trout go to work this season. He is back being the lone soldier for Anaheim, for the Angels, and he does not want to go anywhere. This is his home. He wants them to win, and I hope that he can will them to victory, because Mike Trout is arguably the greatest baseball player of all time, and he's only been to one playoff game. One wild card game that they lost. Baseball gods need to give Mike Trout a ring, and he's not going anywhere to get it. The Angels need one. It would be so beautiful if he did get one, but he is powering them. Again, they don't have the greatest record, but He is doing everything in his power to keep this team relevant. Right above them, I have the Giants, who, after a really solid offseason, have had a slow start to the season. They got a lot of key free agents later, so it's not the greatest start to the season. I do believe they can turn it around. Blake Snell had his first start and he got shelled. We had the beginnings of Matt Chapman at third. He's been doing just okay, nothing too special. There hasn't been any big improvements from these free agents that they brought in. So they're here at 23. The Twins at 22, again, have been dealing with injury. The Twins, as the Twins do, Carlos Correa dealing with injury. It sucks because the Twins are a very good team. They have the ability to be very good. They have the ability to make some noise in the playoffs, but they're just not. They fall 8 spots from 14 to 22 in this last poll, and now we get to our biggest faller, the Astros. The Astros are currently last place in their division. Let that sink in. The Astros have a worse record than the Oakland Athletics, almost 20 games into the season, which again isn't that much, but the Astros are a proud team. They are on the border of a dynasty. They've at least been dominant for the last 10 plus years, making it to the ALCS, I believe, in 7 straight seasons or so. And now they are, in the beginning of the season, last in their division, behind the Oakland Athletics, who are basically homeless already. It's not a good look. They turned their back on what got them here in analytics, and now they are going to, hey, this guy's good, let's go by feel. And that works sometimes. You have success like that when you're a stacked team like the Astros are, but why not go with what got you here? There's 2 ways to do it in baseball. Analytics are very helpful. I think you need to have a mix of both. You can't just go full analytics, but you need to have some kind of analytics, and the Astros have gone back into the Stone Age, for lack of a better term. They got rid of their analytic team, basically, and now they're starting to see why analytics are very important. I expect them to rebound. You still have Yordan Alvarez. You still have Jose Altuve. You still have Justin Verlander, who's coming back this week. You still have a very, very, very stacked roster, so I expect them to be able to bounce back. Tigers at 20, after their hot start, they've just kind of cooled down a bit, back to where they should be. Red Sox, Mets, and Mariners, I all kind of had grouped into one group. Right now I have Red Sox 19, Mets 18, Mariners 17, but I do think you could put any of those teams in any order, maybe even throw the Tigers and the Padres, which are flanking them at 20 and 16, in there. I think the Padres are a little bit better than those guys, but mix and match those teams. They're all very similar. They have some of their stars are struggling, or pitching is struggling, but I think a bunch of them can rebound. The Mets are kind of on a tear. They started 0-5. They have won 10 of their last 15. They've won 10 games since. They're like 10-3 in their last 13. So very impressive for them. They've won a bunch of tough competitive series. The Mets are the highest climbers out of this group. They go up 5. Like I said, the Padres also go up 5. They've just been solid all season. They still have the star power to carry them. Ahead of the Padres, now we get into the top half of the league. I've got the Reds at 15, the Diamondbacks at 14, and the Pirates at 13. Brewers at 12 as well. Again, another situation where I think a lot of those guys you can kind of mix and match. I have the Reds below them. I think they're slightly below the Diamondbacks. And the Pirates have just been on a tear lately. So that's why I have it like this. The Brewers 12, just ahead of the Pirates. Just have more stars. More star power is really what put them up here. We had the, biggest riser so far being the Pirates. They go from 22 to 13 in my rankings. And the Blue Jays at 11 go a little bit up. They just, again, that AL East is really solid. They've been really good. They're not competing at the top with the Yankees and the Orioles, but they're down here with the Rays, who I have at 10. I had them at 9 last week. The Blue Jays and the Rays, they're going to be battling for that last wild card spot, I believe, in the AL. And that's going to be a fun battle to watch. There's already a little bit of rivalry there since they're in the same division, and we're going to get to see them play a couple of really important games, especially down the stretch of the season. So now we're in the top 10. I said the Rays were at 10. The Royals I have at 9. They jump 11 spots from number 20, and they are right behind the Guardians, who I have at number 8. The Royals and the Guardians are half a game apart from each other. Guardians go up 10 spots, Royals go up 11. I really like both of these teams. I like the Royals pitching staff a whole lot. I'm a big fan of great pitchers. The Guardians, they lost Shane Bieber, which is a tough blow for a team like them, but they are playing just fine without him, which is kind of shocking. They've been able to rebound. Not sure how much longer they can, if they can sustain this level of play for the entire season, because the Royals are red hot. The Royals, I think, are going to end up taking that division. They are very good, but the Guardians, I have one spot above them. They do have that half-game advantage, and especially this early in the season when it's this close in my brain, I'm going to give that standings update. I'm going to give it to the standings to make that tiebreaker. So I have the Guardians at 8 and the Royals at 9. Number 7, I have the Cubs. Again, dealing with some injuries, but they've been really solid. You know, they've given a fight to every single team that they've played. It's been a really good start to their season. And I was low on the Cubs. I didn't think they'd be able to repeat their success from last season, but they've been able to do it and more. Some of their young guys coming up have done very well to fill in. Phillies at 6. I have them flip-flopping with the Rangers, who I have at 5. I had it flip-flop before. The Rangers just really good. Phillies bats are there. If Trey Turner can start hitting, they will jump into that top tier, which, as we talked about last week, there's still those 4 top teams. You still have the Dodgers, Orioles, Yankees, and Braves at the top, and kind of everyone else below. You can kind of extend that second tier all the way down in my rankings to like 11 or so. So Rangers, Phillies, Cubs, Guardians, Royals, Rays, and Blue Jays. Those guys are all in that could break out kind of tier. And then the rest of them, all the way down to 25, are in these no man land territory where could go up, could go down. We're not really sure exactly how the season's going to go. Lots of different things could affect it. But as we get to that true contender tier, it's been the same all season. I still have the Orioles at 4. They're just slightly behind the powerhouses of the Dodgers, Yankees, and Braves. And that's not to say anything about them. You know, Jackson Holliday came up, and he's been really good. You have Jordan Westberg, who's been sensational this season. You know, kind of a little bit of a hidden, more under the radar name in Jordan Westbrook, but Westberg, excuse me. But he's been really good at that hot corner. So having him and having that whole lineup, they're only going to get better and better. They're the youngest team up here. I have them at 4 for now. They can climb. The Dodgers I have at 3. I thought about putting them down to 4 after they lost the series to the Nationals, especially with the way that the Nationals have been playing all year. But, you know, that top core of hitters is there. The bottom part of their lineup is not getting it done. The pitching is injured, which was the major concern from last season. They have Tyler Glasnow now and Yoshi Yamamoto, but Bobby Miller got hurt. These guys, they need to improve. Walker Buehler's, they need to get healthier. I think improve is the wrong word. They need to get healthier. The Yankees are at 2, and the reason I don't have them at 1 is because Aaron Judge has been struggling a little bit, and the most impressive part is that hasn't mattered. If this was last season and Aaron Judge was performing the way he is right now, the Yankees would not be in contention. They would be really bad, as we saw last year. But adding Juan Soto has been huge. The pitching has been surprisingly solid, even without Garrett Cole. And that leaves the Braves at the top. Braves are the most complete team in baseball. They did lose Spencer Strider. And losing an ace in Spencer Strider is tough, because Spencer Strider is one of the best young pitchers in all of baseball. I wish him a speedy recovery, but the Braves starting rotation is good enough that they can survive without him. We go into a season with Chris Sale at 4, and the way he's been pitching, he now moves up into that 3 spot. You still have Charlie Morton. You still have Max Fried. This is a really, 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 really good Braves pitching staff, even without Spencer Strider. I expect them to still be my title favorites. They are still number 1 on my power rankings. I'd love to hear what you guys think about my list. Let me know in the comments below. If you have any questions about how I did it, I'll give you more explanation. But yeah, in our 4th and final segment coming up, we are going to finish up our tour around the four major American sports and take a quick pit stop at hockey. There's some major movement news in the NHL, something that's been a long time coming. We will go over all of that and more coming up next on Sports by GSMC Podcast Network.